So as we record this, we just played Everton yesterday, and we won 2-0 with an asterisk. I mean, it was kind of like a goal with a grace goal, I guess, afterwards. A little coup de grace moment. But yeah, that was interesting. On a meta note, talking about the circumstances under which I viewed this one, and I think it's relevant for a lot of our viewers and listeners also. So I started noticing, and I think my father, who also he sometimes does watch live. He watches live way more than I do, but we were noticing for live matches and replays that it was impossible finding them in either Peacock or NBC Sports. Just not happening. No idea why. What he pointed out to me was, I think it was whatever the last one was before Chelsea, that was an NBC Sports Network match. He pointed out that he watched the Telemundo version that was on either Peacock or NBC Sports. I don't remember which. I think for him, it probably would have been Peacock. So that worked for him. I wouldn't stoop to that and determined that there had to be a better answer. And as I searched around yesterday, trying to find this match, not finding it, and then wanting an answer why, I found out apparently. So we mentioned briefly when we started seeing NBCSN showing up on World Soccer Talk, where we look for the coming Arsenal television schedule. We were like, oh, you pointed out that it was something that had been around for a while and then had gone away, and now they've brought it back. Interesting. Except apparently NBCSN is exclusively available on YouTube TV. This is YouTube's cord cutter service that you would pay for instead of a cable company or Fios or Uverse or whatever you have. You pay them. It's on the order of like $80 a month. It's something like after the promotional period ends, it's like 80, 83, 84, somewhere around there, US dollars a month. Like, not a trivial amount. Not like, oh, well, I guess I'll do that to be able to watch every Arsenal match. Like, no, I am not subscribing to YouTube TV. And especially, it's sporadic. It's not every match. And Arsenal plays most of the year. It's not like, oh, well, I'll do it for like the couple months. No, it's 10 months out of the year you would need to be subscribed to this thing. So that's not happening. I'm very frustrated by the situation. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about it. I feel like asking some of the parents at my son's keeper clinic, who I know have talked about kind of shady back of the truck kind of situations for watching sports content. I might ask about some of those and see what they have to say, because this will not stand. This is unacceptable. It's ridiculous. I guess YouTube paid them a lot of money. I don't know what other reason there could possibly be for it, but what did I do yesterday to watch this match? Now, presumably you were watching it in the pub and they have YouTube TV or whatever they needed to be able to watch it. Were you able to tell that it was streaming instead of coming over the air? Or did it look the same to you?
I showed up and it was
and it was on. Yeah, exactly. So for me,
I mean, I think they also have, I think, DirecTV, and so it is accessible through certain cable and satellite packages.
Okay, that's possible. That's not what I've seen. And it's possible that the cable subscription I leverage to get access to NBC Sports maybe just doesn't have that channel. And maybe that's something I can look into, is pay this party whose subscription I share, give them a few bucks to pay for this extra channel. Maybe that'll work. What I read, though, was that it is only available in the US on YouTube TV. So maybe DirecTV also, but that was not what I saw. We can follow up.
That doesn't make sense in the standpoint of you're only making that doesn't make sense that it would only be available through one particular provider like that.
Yeah.
A channel that way, especially one, like if it's there, then it's accessible through NBC in some way.
Yeah.
Because it's their network. So that's kind of
exactly. But I mean, even just going to Wikipedia
part of it is
now,
you're also looking for the replays. If you're trying to watch it live, I bet there's a lot more ways to get access to it.
It's possible. And yeah, it's totally possible in the NBC Sports app that I would be able to watch it live, even though that isn't what I typically do. That is possible. But from what I've seen, over the past few years watching sports more and more that I care about. In general, wherever you watch it live, there is, like, basically without exception, this being the only exception so far, there's a replay in the same place where you watched it live. So I don't know. But so this led me down an interesting path last night. So desperate to be able to watch the replay of this match, I started watching the Telemundo version myself. And they talk way faster than my high school Spanish from like 22, 23 years ago will allow me to understand more than the most basic things that they say. Like, eventually when we scored and they called out goal for like 30 seconds uninterrupted, that I got, and then there are certain phrases here and there that would make sense. And then I remembered I am an anxious early adopter of technology. I can leverage that to my advantage. And what I ended up doing was, so keep in mind, I'm watching this on the Apple Vision Pro already. It's kind of irrelevant for this, but I've been using my AirPods Pro on my Apple Vision Pro, which I've been doing more because it does sound even better than the built-in speakers, which are good to begin with, but even better. What I did was I changed the connection on my AirPods to my iPhone. So now it's playing over the speakers from my Apple Vision Pro, but I kept my AirPods in. And for anybody watching or listening to this, if you find yourself in the same situation, this would work the same if I was watching just the TV on the wall in front of me instead of in my virtual world that I was watching in, right? But the key thing is it was playing the Spanish language announcers over the speakers into my AirPods through which I was listening. Then I enabled a feature I had not yet had occasion to use on my phone, and I pinched down on both AirPods after installing the Spanish language on them and was able to have a live translation in Siri's voice on my AirPods Pro of the commentary that was going on. So that basically raised my comprehension of what they were saying from around maybe 5% up to maybe 25% is how I would characterize it. So like the whole thing where I was talking about when they said in with this being like what did I mention earlier where they were talking about in the match, but talking about one of the fouls or something. But like I was able to understand, like there are certain things where it was like lucid moments, and then there was some absolutely bonkers translations that I jotted down in our notes to repeat to you because they just had me in stitches as I'm hearing this coming out of my ears. So, for instance, I don't particularly agree with the vegetable technician. I was tickled pink by the idea of a vegetable technician. And then outdoing itself later, there was another one. The fish, his own mouth dies with a soup of their own chocolate. So
I'm trying to think of the circumstance that would lead you to have a Spanish like that. Like, what does that even sound?
I know. So this is being repeated in English, like translated live into my ears. So there's some other funny things, like it would basically mishear certain names. So repeatedly throughout the match, every single time they say saliva, I hear in my ears saliva every single time. And then there are some other like kind of nicknames that would happen. So saca, well, sacar, you may remember, is a verb in Spanish to take out, right? So every time he said saca's name, I was like, oh, take out is what I would hear in my ears. Jokeres was the Joker. Madweke is the Duque. So it added another layer to the match. It did not overall distract from my enjoyment of it. I was still able to appreciate the action on the screen. I was able to understand more than I would without it. And it was an experience that I guess if I can't find an English language version of the match that won't give me a spoiler, like going to Arsenal.com, I may have to do it again. It's quite an experience.
Yeah. That's a long way to go without saying Max Dowman's name attached to this game.
Do you want to talk about him first, or do you want to start somewhere else?
Well, I think we should start. Let's talk a little bit about this chocolate soup more. But in all seriousness, I guess here's my terrible transition from this.
You sound like you need a vegetable technician.
Here's my terrible transition from this. I'm not sure there's any translation that would help me better understand what the heck the referee was doing in the course of this game.
Well, he clearly lost his cards. They could not be found.
I have tried, and we've been very good about not blaming the referees. We pick decisions here and there, and that's part of the game. But and I don't think it changed the game. And we would have. I thought he was horribly yesterday. I thought he was horribly inconsistent. As you said, no cards in the entire game. And look, I came into this game with the expectation that it was going to end 1-0. David Moyes' Everton is always this kind of ugly, slowed down, tight, physical game. That's just how this was going to go. So it's weird. There's a lot of tension in the buildup, especially late in the game. I felt this sort of weird sense of calm, even late on. Of course, everybody's freaking out of everything, and I wanted them to score, and of course, I'm frustrated by missed passes or things like that. And then there were moments where I was just sort of going we got time. We have time. We have time. You could do this. Push through. And look, Jordan Pickford is a pain to play against. He's a good keeper. He's not a great one, but he's a good keeper. And it's frustrating because, and I think this game sort of reveals why. He had a lot of really good moments and good plays, but then ultimately the winning goal, he just whiffs entirely on that cross. And the ball ends up going to Gyökeres, and he punches it in, and of course everybody's running around and having a good time. And that was it. That was 1-0 to the Arsenal. That was it. That was the goal. We're going to win. We're going to be okay and walk out of this one. But it's frustrating in a sense that you see so much of the game. It did that thing, because I'm still taking another referee here. He did that thing where he calls nothing in the first half. Every physical contact is not a foul or is minimal. Okay, fine, I'll call the foul. And then in the second half, everything is a foul. Mm-hmm. And it's just that the kind of inconsistency drives me insane. Before we even talk about particular plays, like somehow Gyökeres got a foul because he got run into by the defender.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah.
But all of this, I said the referee doesn't impact the game. All of this pales to the obvious moment in the first half. Kai Havertz gets tripped in the box. That's a penalty. Mm-hmm. That is a clear and obvious penalty. And maybe in the moment, there's not a lot of contact there, and you can't necessarily tell and see. It is clear as day on the replay. Mm-hmm. That is a penalty. And the degree to which that was just completely and not just the referee not calling it on the field. The VAR check took what? 10 seconds? What?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Mm-hmm. that was just, it's a penalty. I didn't think it was at first. He went down and I was like, oh, we're not getting that. And then I finally saw the replays. I'm like, we should have that. That's a penalty. And I just,
yeah, it's
frustrating.
It is. I mean, so clearly more frustrating to you than the Andrich second yellow not being given in the Bayer Leverkusen game. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
They felt similar to me. I think I was similarly frustrated. Now, also, I will say going into this, that was like the one spoiler I had is I'd gone into the Apple News app to do my puzzles, which is now becoming something I need to tiptoe around a little bit. But I saw like a headline with a graphic of Everton and Kai Havertz, like that contact in the box saying this penalty should have been given. So like I knew when it happened that it wasn't going to be reversed or anything. Like I knew what to expect when it transpired. I was thankful that it was early enough in the match that, I was like, okay, well, the next 70 minutes or so will be spoiler free. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating. And there was other times where maybe a little less blatant, but like Gyökeres had definitely been fouled in the box as a cross was coming to him. Like there was never no one dwelled on it, but it looked like there was something there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's those little things that kind of frustrate you throughout the throughout the course. They kind of build and build. I mean, but again, as I said, this is kind of what I expect with Everton. This is kind of what I expect when we play David Moyes. And so, in spite of those frustrations, I felt fairly confident even going late. I have to say, though, where I was less confident and what I wasn't a big fan of was the substitution of Madueke coming off for Max Dowman. This, to me, I was nervous because I looked at it and says, I don't think this is a game for Dowman. 16, obviously young, a kid, comes in to what is a physical, tough game. I mean, he handled the Mansfield Town physically well, but he's obviously a lot more skilled than those guys. I wasn't as confident I could say that about Everton and the way Everton plays. This felt to me like a bit more of a desperation move. And I was totally wrong about that. Max Dowman was the best player on the field for the last 10, 15 minutes when he was on the field.
So when I saw Madueke getting pulled off for Dowman, I disagreed, but for a different reason. I wasn't focusing on who they were bringing on. I was looking at, Madueke has been pretty effective at pushing through into the box like he tends to do. He's been getting chances for us. Like they're pulling him off. He was like warming up. Like I felt like he needed a little more time to do his thing. But then Max Dowman has won me over at this point. So you talked about he was the best player on the field against Mansfield, for instance. I have not seen until yesterday against Everton. I've not seen what the fuss was. I'd been assuming, as people like watching him play in the youth matches, which definitely is a part of it. Like some of the journalists that cover Arsenal, like as their actual day jobs, will watch the youth matches and report on Handbrake Off and other places talking about, how good he is there. I didn't see him in any of the friendlies that he played over the summer in the preseason. So I'd been assuming that there was more than what I was seeing to him. And that very well may be the case. He didn't particularly, he didn't offend me. Like he didn't do anything bad that I was thinking, he's actually not a good player, but nothing particularly caught my attention until this performance at Everton yesterday, where he was clearly the star on the pitch. Like even before his 2 goal involvements, just the way that he was dancing around them and just really fearless and the exact kind of player that we needed in that moment. It was really something.
Yeah, he was just, and again, and Everton's no joke. They're 8th of the league. Like they're a pretty solid team. And this is definitely kind of a performance. I mean, he sets up that goal. He's the one who sends the cross in. Hincapié kind of nudges forward, gets through Pickford, and then Gyökeres is there to finish it off. That's exactly the kind of goal you want Gyökeres scoring, right? That kind of fox in the box, like just picking up a loose ball. The kind of thing we haven't quite seen him done as much as we would have liked.
Right.
And then you follow that up, of course, with just the exclamation mark on the game.
Yeah,
I just...
And which also was not trivial. I mean, by the time he actually tapped in the goal, sure, anybody can do that. For the most part, I mean, pressure can get to anybody and mess up even what looks like an easy shot. But it was just like the way that he got it past the defender with his head, the first defender he went against, and then like juked around the second one that he went up against. And and Martinelli's header to get it past Pickford, who had been pulled at that point. I mean, it was amazing. It was a really great way to end the game. And it was one thing that I did hear the Spanish language commentators talking about, where they had said live in the moment, it feels like Arsenal just won the league, right? And I was kind of feeling like that too. And this is in advance of City trying against West Ham. We can talk about in a minute. But it felt like that. Like, wow, they are at the point, like we talked about a few years ago in the 22-23 season, when I was kind of feeling really nervous about the season and in particular moments and matches where it didn't look like we were going to pull out a result. And you had used the phrase that they've earned our belief at that point, right? And I know the feeling you're talking about in this match, like the weird sense of calm, right? I didn't have it in this match, but there have been other ones where I've had that sense of, look, these guys are doing well this season, even when we think they won't. They've only lost 3 matches in the league, right? I mean, like, they are doing well. We will get a result. That's what they do. They find the moments, they dig down. And yeah, it was really, it felt amazing. It was just like cinematic in a way, right? Like, for it to end that way, for this player to have 2 goal involvements. He was on the pitch for what, like 20 minutes or something? Yeah. I mean, it was the 74th minute that he was brought on. So it was 7 minutes of stoppage time. Yeah, it was a little over 20 minutes. But yeah, just, wow. I get it now.
and yeah, it's just a wonderful moment to sort of end the game, and yeah, it's just fantastic to see him kind of come good like that. And yeah, I think the biggest difference between this year's Arsenal team and last year's, a team obviously that was good, semifinals of the Champions League, second place again, like, was obviously a very good team. But one of the places I think they ended up falling short, and this is kind of what I was thinking late on, and especially after we took the lead, but even then again with Dalman scoring, is to win as much as we do and to be in the positions we're in, you need contributions from across the entire roster. And think about how many times we weren't getting that last year. I mean, we mentioned Raheem Sterling earlier in the episode. I don't want to pick on Sterling, but obviously, like, he was obviously past the sell-by date at that point. To not have to be able to get these kind of contributions, to have a player like a Max Dowman who can throw on, a Christian Norgard who can start and go 90 in the Mansfield Town game, or some of the youth players we had there who acquitted themselves quite well. To be able to move guys around. Christian Mosquera had to come on for Timber's injury. And then I didn't notice him the rest of the game in a good way, right? As a defender, you don't notice the guy because he's doing a pretty good job. Like, to be able to get those kind of contributions up and down the line, that's really the biggest difference between this team and where they were last year, where they were like 3 or 4 years ago when you and I were starting this, when you were sort of starting your journey with the Arsenal. Like, we have a line, just a squad up and down the line that can, you really don't know who it's going to be. I mean, the big thing here, we'll talk about this here just for a little bit, Dowman comes on and he immediately starts playing on the right wing.
Right.
Wait a minute, we have a right wing at Saka. No, we don't. We have a central midfielder. And he spends the rest of the game kind of roaming around. I said Dowman was great, and he was, and we were feeding a lot of balls down that right side. But also, Saka kind of becomes that free roaming player who just kind of can pick the ball up anywhere he wants. And he's a guy, he was, speaking of the great hopes coming out of the academy, he was one of them, and to see him still, again, continue to his game continue to develop that way. And for him to be as dangerous as he was, again, he was very good there. Late on, it's just, yeah. I mean, we haven't won the league. I'm not going to say that, but we went out, played a tight physical game, and won it late. And then immediately afterwards, Manchester City went out and played a tight physical game, and they did not win.
Right.
Shout out to former Arsenal player, current Arsenal legend, Dino Mavropanos, who scored West Ham's goal on their only shot of the entire game. Wow. Off a corner. He's one of our own.
Yeah. Oh boy. Did he overlap with Nico Jover?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
But it just, I told you, we are now 9 points clear of City. I mean, they're running out of games. That's all I'm going to say. They're running out of games.